Senator Lindsey Graham's hyperbole and verbose comments regarding so-called Russian hacking and interference in the 2016 election has to be taken with a grain of salt. We have to also understand that there are two diametrically different converging interests here. On the part of the Democrats that keep alleging hacking interference, they are still in shock that they lost because their hyenas in the media were trumpeting Hillary Clinton and her neocon agenda and were celebrating before the votes were cast and were assuring everybody that she would win. And when she lost, Democrats had to find some scapegoat and reason for her loss. And so the Democrats, which had traditionally advocated good relations with Russia, all of a sudden took their mask off and became and revealed themselves as the warmongers they are, and are trumpeting reigniting the Cold War and confrontation with Russia on the scale on the same scale as was the case during the Cold War with the Soviet Union. And this just delighted the old guard Republicans, which reveled in the days of the Cold War when they could pass billions of dollars to their benefactors, which were the military-industrial complex and defense contractors, and have a boogeyman to play the American people on in the form of the Soviet Union. You see, it's easier to have the boogeyman in the form of a country, a nation-state, as opposed to terrorism. So if they could reignite the Cold War in the form of Russia taking the place of the Soviet Union, the Republicans realize they can get more mileage out of that. So the Republicans want this Russia phobia because they've burned out the Islamophobia in the form of the war on terror. To a large extent, Americans have gotten tired of that. And both Republicans and Democrats have to have a boogeyman for their respective issues. Democrats have to have a boogeyman to blame their loss on, rather than looking at their message and some of the poor performances of the Obama administration. The Republicans have to have a boogeyman for their existence. The Republicans, unless they have a boogeyman to play something against, whether it's Islamophobia, now Russia-phobia, the former Soviet Union, or something, they can't exist. Their entire existence, the Republicans' entire existence, rests on having a boogeyman and being against something because they have nothing to be for. So that is the reason for Senator Graham's assertion and calling for prosecution and sanctions and things of that nature. Senator Graham is a political dinosaur that needs to hurry up and die. He's one of the senators, one of many in Washington, that just refuses to understand there's a new age dawning, and he's just not going to be a part of it. He's an unmarried man, no wife, no family, no children, and his only interest is to wage this neocon aggressive type of policy advancement, trying to reignite American hegemony across the world. And he's very upset, and so are his cohorts, that you have countries like Russia coming together with Iran and Syria, solving problems in the Middle East. The retaking of Aleppo by Russia, Syria, and Iran, that coalition really sent a message to the world. And then the joint alliances between Russia and China and India that they're developing, it is sending a message to the world that the United States can be rendered irrelevant, and you're seeing positive things happen. The United States doesn't solve problems. The United States looks to make problems so it could then swoop in and harvest resources from around the world. And the world has finally realized that, so you're seeing these alliances that are being made to solve problems, to protect the resources, and to bypass this antiquated system of imperialism that the United States still, unfortunately, represents. And what you're seeing in the United States is an old empire like Rome in its death throes, and Lindsey Graham is like an old Roman senator in his toga, banging his chest, and nobody's really listening to him anymore because he's just not relevant.